What's already? Welcome back to News Toast, and one of Xbox's most beloved franchises could actually be on the way back thanks to a new partnership that they formed last year. Now, this is something that fans have speculated about for really quite some time, and also have just kind of begged for as well. So we're going to get into that today because this is incredibly exciting stuff if Xbox actually goes through with it. And that is still a question, but I feel like there is a pretty good chance that they will. Now, we're also going to cover the Switch 2 a little bit more because Nintendo's greed really just knows no bound by this point. Just absolutely ridiculous. First, though, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do. I truly do appreciate each and every one of you. Let's go and get right into things, though, starting off with yet another re-release for The Last of Us. Yep, that's right. If you didn't already buy into the previous 6... I'm going to go and say that again. The previous 6 editions, not even counting the PC versions or the canceled factions too, then you're going to have one more chance, probably more, to buy into the complete edition, which includes The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 for the PlayStation 5. Pre-orders are live right now over on PlayStation Direct for a grand total of $110, and it'll launch on July 10th. For that premium price, though, this will include a few extra goodies, such as a steelbook case, a few lithographic prints, and you even get a personal thank you note from Neil Druckmann himself, because... I guess he really needs to thank his fans for rebuying these games every few years since 2013. Just crazy by this point. If you didn't already know, Sony clearly likes this franchise, and with the HBO Season 2 out this month, this is really just kind of another attempt for them to try and cash in on some of that audience. It worked for them a few years back with the release of Season 1, and I guess we'll just have to kind of see what happens here with Season 2. I know Part 2 of the game isn't as beloved as the first one, really not even close. We'll see what happens with Part 2, the season. I, for one, though, miss the old Naughty Dog days when they weren't as pretentious, and when it didn't take them nearly a decade to release a new game. For me personally, all of these re-releases is just yet another painful reminder that they aren't the same company that they used to be. Now, here's something that's been going around here recently. A rumor about Titanfall 3 popped up earlier in the week, and a lot of people got really excited about it. Obviously, there's a lot of people that want a third game because the first 2 games are actually really good and kind of unique for the genre as well. However, I chose not to talk about it when I first saw it because I didn't really fully believe in it. I mean, there was already a lot of news previously that contradicted the idea that a third game is currently in development. We've actually talked about that on this channel, which is why I held off on talking about this latest rumor. However, considering this rumor kind of blew up the way that it did, I feel like I do need to kind of talk about the latest update, and unfortunately, I do come bearing bad news in this case. Jeff Grubb posted an update about this latest rumor, and you can just read what he said here. Titanfall 3 isn't real. It isn't in the works, let alone near completion, and close to announcement for a 2026 release. Respawn is working on Apex Legends, Star Wars Jedi 3, and the Bit Reactor Star Wars game. It then also has Steve Fukada's Skunkworks project, which is years away. So, yeah, I mean, this is unfortunate. Personally, for me, none of these games are nearly as exciting as a potential Titanfall 3, but, that's because I'm not really a big Star Wars fan. However, Star Wars is a big franchise, and the Jedi series is legitimately viewed as one of the best Star Wars games ever made. So, hopefully that will continue on for you Star Wars fans out there. Hopefully Jedi 3 turns out to be another fantastic game, but unfortunately that also means for us Titanfall fans that series will remain on the back burner for the foreseeable future. Okay, so let's go get into this Xbox story, and I'm extremely excited about this. Now, if you don't know this about me, I grew up in the 90s, and a big part of my childhood was playing 3D platformers. So whether that be Mario, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, or Banjo-Kazooie being my personal favorite, this is a genre that still holds a very special place in my heart. Last year, my game of the year was Astrobot, and a few years back, it was Psychonauts 2. But each and every single year, I can't help but say that I'm left a little bit disappointed. Because here we have all of these different franchises that's lived on for decades. But for whatever reason, my personal favorite, Banjo, is nowhere to be found. Microsoft has done very little with the Bear and the Bird. Ever since the release of Nuts and Bolts, it's almost like they're allergic to Banjo. And I think what makes this situation even worse for, from a fan's perspective is that we've seen massive success stories from some of these 90s platformers. If you look at something like the Crash Insane trilogy and Spyro Reignited, they sold incredibly well. The Crash Insane trilogy sold more than 20 million copies, while Spyro Reignited sold more than 10 million. So you would think at the very least a Banjo 1 and 2 remake would make a lot of sense for Xbox, and they wouldn't even have to make a brand new Banjo-Kazooie 3. Yet here we are, 7 years after the release of the Insane trilogy. Microsoft saw the success that game had, and we still have no news for a Banjo 1 and 2 remake. I don't know if it's just incompetence from Xbox by this point, or if they just don't have the right studio to do it, but I'm happy to say that at least for that last part, that's now changed as of today. Toys for Bob, the same studio behind Spyro Reignited and Crash Bandicoot 4, not only is currently working with Xbox as we speak, but they're also putting their hat in the ring for something Banjo-related in the future. Now, to be clear, I don't believe that they're currently working on a Banjo project. I personally suspect that they're working on Spyro 4. I've talked about this in the past, but there is a very real chance that Banjo could be their next project after whatever they're working on right now. This comes from an interview with Canadian Guy A and the co-studio head for Toys for Bob. Now, I will leave a link in the description below, but he went on record and said, one company we'd like to work with is one that we're already working with, Team Xbox. They've been a great partner, and they also have a very interesting roster of characters that Toys for Bob could have a lot of fun with. The Honey Bear is the first one that comes to mind. I think we can all agree Banjo's been hibernating long enough, right? Yeah, I mean, that seems like a fairly strong tease that they have Banjo-Kazooie on their mind. And the fact that Xbox is already working with them, again, as we speak, this seems like a very realistic proposition. Phil Spencer, as of about a year ago, or maybe it was, I think it was actually in late 2023, but he mentioned that he's heard all of the different requests for a new Banjo game and that he's listening to those fans. So, I mean, this is kind of his answer. Work with Toys for Bob on whatever the new project is. Again, I believe it's Spyro 4. And then after that, enter into a new contract with him to work on Banjo-Kazooie. And here's the thing about all of this. This could all happen a lot faster than what I think some people might realize. I feel like a lot of modern AAA games have kind of conditioned fans to think that every game needs 5 to 8 years to develop, but 3D platformers don't take nearly that long to make. If you look at something like Astrobot, I believe that game took them 3 years to make, and historically, Toys for Bob has done a great job of pumping games out on a 2 to 4 year development cycle. So if that continues, we could actually get their next game a lot sooner than some people might expect. Now, in the same interview, they did mention that their secret Xbox Activision project is big and ambitious. So with that in mind, whatever they're working on right now could take them closer to a 4-year development cycle. But either which way, every single time I've ever mentioned a Banjo remake on this channel, I've always gotten the exact same comments. Xbox should get Toys for Bob to work for them. You all have repeated that time and time again, and here it is. The fans want it. You all want it. Toys for Bob wants it. So come on, Xbox. Let's finally make this happen. All right, now one more thing before we go, and I just find this to be incredibly frustrating. I think you all know that I'm a big fan of Nintendo and their games, but at the end of the day, I'm always going to call a spade a spade. And the entire Switch 2 rollout has honestly been... It's been a clown show. Yeah, the whole tariff thing that's been going on, I can't really completely blame Nintendo for that situation and the pre-order delays that they're reassessing their console price. But from day one, the biggest issue has never really been with the console price itself, but really it's just the mixed messages and the price for their games. Not the console itself. I still think that $450 is a reasonable price when you compare it to other handhelds. We've even gotten promising reports about his graphics when compared to something like the Xbox Series S as one such example. But again, it's the game prices that currently has fans up in arms. $80 for Mario Kart World? I don't know about that. Even Nintendo's reasoning for its price doesn't sit well with me. They basically told us that, hey, it's popular. so we're going to sell it at a higher price. I mean, that's basically what they said. So, I don't know. I just don't like how they're handling this specific situation. But what's even worse for me, and I've mentioned this before, is the price for their Switch 2 edition games. I mean, it's one thing to price a brand new game at $80. No, I don't like that it's $80, nor their reasoning, but at the very least, it's still a brand new game. However, Zelda Breath of the Wild, a 2017 game that was originally developed for the Wii U, that being $70 is where I strongly disagree. There's no way that this game should be $70. Like I get it, you know, Nintendo never drops the price of their games, but come on, respect your consumers just a little bit. They're going to pay a lot of money to buy into the Switch 2. You want them to be a part of this new console. So at the very least, mark the price down just a little bit. Maybe $50. I think most people would probably be happy about that. But no, they're not going to do that. And to make matters worse here, because I keep using that word, but it's true in this case, to make matters worse, they recently revealed that Breath of the Wild for $70 won't even come included with its DLC. That is just absolutely absurd. $70 for an 8-year-old game with a few enhancements. They can't even include its DLC? Well, what are we doing, Nintendo? Because it's certainly not respecting your most loyal fans. These are the fans that are going to want to buy in day one. Throw them a bone. Instead, though, they're milking their most loyal fans by nickel and diming them. Whether that be the Switch 2 Tour not being a pack-in game, apparently it needs to be a $10 game, the $80 price tag for Mario Kart World, or just these overpriced Switch 2 Edition games, it's clear that Nintendo is preparing to take their most loyal fans for a ride. A very greedy ride on their part, but I guess there it is. It's an expensive time to be a Nintendo fan. Anyways, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.